Hey guys, this is Tyler here. I am going to discuss the topic for MGTOW guys out here who have children and possibilities of what they can do if they don't want them to be in public education. Okay, so I know that some guys here have been married and then have gone through divorce and then have children, and then their kids often end up in public education system. This is obviously very common. Most kids, especially in Western countries, they attend public schools. I think in Germany they actually have a law that you can't homeschool your children. They have to be in either public or private school. And so fortunately, even still, we don't have this law in the USA, but I could see it getting to this point, honestly, especially with the presidency that is likely to come pretty soon. Many guys, so obviously they have children. They can be very young. They can be like 2 or 3, or they could be grown or in their teens, across the spectrum here. And it's often, I think, a very difficult question of what do I do, especially with sons, to raise them in a way and to have them be an education system that teaches them some remote concept of normalcy and is actually authentic, real education, especially for the young people, for the guys who have kids that aren't like college age or university age. This is often, I think, a really difficult area. For guys in this position, I think there's a few possibilities, honestly. I myself, of course, I don't have any children. I haven't had children. I have some nieces and nephews, and I also have worked with youth before. And myself am younger, so it wasn't as long ago that I was a child and I was a teenager, so I certainly have some perspective in this respect. So for guys especially with sons, they probably should first consider the custody, how much custody they have of their children, their sons especially, and if they don't have a lot of custody, should try increase that custody, and or they should try get sole custody of the son if they can. This is a very difficult challenge, and it's something that I know some guys have accomplished, others not. It really just depends on your position, the kind of attorneys you have, how your spouse is, among other factors. Depending on how much custody you have, if you have primary custody or full custody, this gives you more options, more flexibility. You could certainly have them do some homeschooling and keep them in an education that's mostly home-based, which offers a lot of benefits, especially if they're real young. If you have a job that you can do from home, you could keep them at home and have some situation where they're at home doing homeschool courses. There's also some co-ops I know in America where they're essentially like small groups for homeschool kids where there's some adults and they do some of the teaching. They have like math or science skills and they can teach these more advanced areas. Often these adults have had some education background, and this is an option in some cases. And of course there's great online content out there. Not that this always is effective. Sometimes it is, sometimes not. But especially for younger children, you could also do kind of a mixture here, or a blend of 2 or 3 of these combined. For guys so that can possibly arrange it, the guys there are some private schools that I think young people can learn and be in a constructive and positive environment, and they'll actually be around they'll have good solid teachers, and they'll actually learn. They'll actually have real education. Private schools are very expensive though, so this I think is only an option for a very select number of guys with children. Now, the other option obviously is if a guy is like relocating to a different country. This is more difficult, unfortunately, and if you have younger children, many guys in this case may have to just be stuck with having the children left with the ex-wife. Now, if that's not the case, if somehow you get full custody and you're able to get the child to come with you, I mean, find a country that's like suitable for, firstly, for children, there may be some good schools in these countries where you don't have to pay a lot of money and they can get good education. Or you can also use like the online resources like I stated before, and also help teach your kids with the online resources. And because I have heard about kids that have traveled with parents for like a year or a couple years, and they've done like teaching on the road essentially. So that's another option. Now for guys that have kids that are a little older, like at least in the early to mid-teens, you have a little more option here. You have probably more option in this case. Homeschooling, of course, can be done. Many people here know about the GED program. Kids can often do a lot of courses independently. They can also sometimes do courses through the technical college. And you could be actually pretty young and start doing technical college courses. And within these courses, they can do like hands-on skill-based areas like diesel mechanics or carpentry or IT, computer science-based courses. And these are sometimes available for kids as young as early teens. So this might be like another possibility. And then I think if they're either in a homeschool program or in a GED program, they can do both of this at the same time. And this would be a great situation for like those older students, for guys who have who want to live abroad. They could also take their son or sons with them and live in a country, and the son could also go to a school in that country, or just do like online correspondence work. I know there's more and more online options now for junior high and high school age students, and they could possibly do their work online, live in the country with you. They could go to some kind of either language school or university of some kind, and maybe start doing courses, especially language school in that country, and start getting familiar with the language. And so this is a great possibility here. And then also, as I mentioned before, in some cases, like in Ukraine, I know people can start university often like at 15 or 16 years old. So, I mean, if you have a son or sons that are in this age bracket, maybe they have to show a GED or something, they could then immediately start university in one of these countries and be like in their mid-teens. This is permitted, I know, in some of the Eastern European countries, and actually be learning like useful stuff. They don't necessarily need to start like university courses per se. They could start doing either general ed courses or even skill. They could go to more of like a technical college and learn more hands-on skills or trades like electrical or diesel mechanics or something, or computer type of courses. There's different options here. And also for anyone with any age kids, look at courses through like Udemy, Coursera. There's different online platforms, and you'll find courses of all kind that are offered online that kids can learn from a young to an old age. And some of the courses are good, others not so much. It really just depends. And also, if you may need to hire like a private tutor in some cases, like if you're living in a foreign country, or kids have trouble with math or science courses. If you're like in a foreign country, you could probably hire like tutors for a very good price. That would be a good option. Like if the kid was doing courses more independently, to have a tutor meet like 2 or 3 days a week and work with them on their coursework. This would certainly supplement for a teacher. And also keep in mind that often private tutors will accomplish the same amount of work as a traditional classroom in a third or half the time that it would take in a full classroom. So they can often do stuff pretty efficiently. So there's different options here. It's really a matter of personal objective and just how their kids are at the end of the day, what type of path they're on, and that's for guys to decide the best course of action. For some guys who don't have any custody or who have no ability to make these kind of calls, first thing you'd have to do is try get full custody or half custody of your children, and maybe start trying to make some changes there. I think often when kids reach teenage age, depending on the state, or in Canada, I think at that point, kids can start making some decisions on their own. The courts allow them to do as they please. So I think they could start deciding whether what kind of path they were intending to take. But it's a big decision at the end of the day, and each guy's in a different situation. So give me your feedback below, and thank you.